Before the Kraken had a name, there was only a ship that did not come home. No body, no witness, no enemy to accuse. Only a black line of water where men had vanished. And that is the strange thing about the Kraken. Sailors did not invent it because the sea was not frightening enough. They invented it because the sea was too frightening without a face. Most people meet the Kraken as a monster. A giant thing below the waves, arms like snakes, a mouth hidden somewhere in the dark, a body so large it could be mistaken for an island until the island moved. That image is powerful, but it is not the deepest part of the story. Because before the drawings, before the poems, before the Kraken became a creature in films and games, there was a much older problem. The ocean did not behave like an enemy. An enemy can be named. An enemy can be cursed. An enemy can be hunted, punished, or blamed. But the sea was different. It could take a ship without anger. It could swallow a crew and leave no confession behind. It did not answer, did not explain. It did not even return the dead. That is not just death. That is death without a face. Imagine being a sailor before engines, radio, satellites, or modern maps. You leave the harbor in a wooden ship. Your world becomes planks, rope, canvas, salt, and sky. No. For days, there is nothing around you except water. No road, no wall, no witness, no promise that the horizon is telling the truth. The sea can be calm in the morning and violent before night. It can carry you home. It can erase you. And if it erases you well enough, the people on shore may never know what happened. Manager, they will wait. They will count days. They will watch the harbor. And eventually, they will need a story. Was it a storm? Was it a reef? Was it hunger? Was it bad judgment? Or was there something below the water that reached up? This is where the Kraken begins to make sense. Not as zoology, as psychology, because a monster is terrible, but it is also useful. A monster has edges. A monster has habits. A monster can be drawn on a map. A monster can be warned against. You can say, do not sail there. Do not trust water that suddenly becomes still. Do not laugh at the old man who came back frightened. The sea cannot be warned against like that. The sea is everywhere. So humans did what humans always do when fear is too large to hold. They gave it a body. No, Hailey, the Kraken belongs especially to the cold northern imagination, to Scandinavian and Norwegian sea lore, to waters where fog and distance make the world feel unfinished. In later accounts, the creature became enormous, large enough to seem like a floating island, and long-armed enough to pull at ships, dangerous enough that when it sank, the water itself could become a whirlpool. That detail matters. The Kraken did not only attack, it changed the sea around it. It made the water behave like a mouth. And that is why the story worked. It turned every strange ocean sign into part of one body, a shadow under the hull, a tentacle glimpsed through rain, a ring of broken foam, a whale scarred with sucker marks, a dead squid washed onto shore, impossible in size, already rotting, already half myth. None of these things needed to prove the legend literally. They only needed to make the legend feel possible. That is how monsters are built. Not from one fact, from fragments. No, Neil. From what someone saw, from what someone survived, from what someone needed to believe so the silence would stop being empty. The giant squid gives this story its strange half-truth. Real giant squid are not ship-hunting demons. They live deep. They are elusive. For a long time, humans mostly knew them from carcasses, pieces, scars, and rumor. But that is exactly why they were perfect fuel for myth. The real animal was hidden. The signs were not a long tentacle, a sharp beak, an eye built for darkness, marks left on whales after battles no sailor could watch. The deep was sending up evidence without explanation. And whenever evidence arrives without context, human imagination does not stay quiet. It completes the shape. So the Kraken became more than an animal. It became an answer. Not a true answer in the modern scientific sense. A human answer. The kind people make when they cannot stand a blank space. The kind that says something took them. And something waited below, something had arms. Something can be feared. And if it can be feared, maybe it can be survived. This is the part of the Kraken most monster stories miss. The Kraken was not only a thing in the sea, it was a warning system. One sailor survives a strange patch of water. He tells the harbor. The harbor tells the next ship. Next ship tells another port, and with every retelling, the shadow becomes clearer. The arms become longer. The water becomes darker. The warning becomes easier to remember. That is not simply stupidity. That is memory doing what memory does under pressure. It sharpens danger into a shape people can carry. Because a vague lesson dies quickly, but a monster walks. It waits in the mind before the ship ever leaves. But there is a cost. Once a monster exists, it can begin to explain too much. Naturally, every missing ship becomes its work. Every bad captain becomes unlucky. Every dangerous decision becomes fate. Every preventable death can hide behind the creature. So here is the uncomfortable question. Was the Kraken a warning, or was it an excuse? If merchants demanded another voyage before winter, was the monster guilty? If sailors were underpaid, overloaded, and ordered across storms, did the sea take them? Or did people on land spend their lives first? This is the comment no one wants inside a monster story. And sometimes a creature protects people from fear, and sometimes it protects people from responsibility. That is why the Kraken belongs in a channel about monsters of fate. It is not just a squid made enormous. It is not just an old sailor's exaggeration. It is what happens when humans stand before something too large to accuse the ocean, the market, the empire, the weather, the journey no one in power had to take. The Kraken gives all of that a face, and once it has a face, the fear becomes almost merciful, because a face can be hated. A face can be drawn. A face can be remembered. An abyss cannot. This is why the myth survived, even after science made the ocean more measurable. Now, we can map currents, track storms, film the deep, name the squid, measure the tentacle, preserve the carcass in glass. And still, when a camera points into black water and something huge moves where light cannot follow, the old part of the mind understands immediately. This is not empty. Something is down there. Maybe not the Kraken exactly, but the feeling that created it is still alive. The feeling that the world is deeper than our explanations. That disappearance is not the same as absence. And then, that the dark can be full. So the Kraken was not born because sailors saw too much. It was born because the sea gave them too little. Too little proof, too little mercy, too little to bring back to the families waiting at the harbor. And when the sea refused to answer, humans answered for it. They gave the deep a body. They gave the silence arms. They gave the abyss a face. That is why the Kraken still matters. Not because it proves the old maps were right. Not because a monster is waiting under every ship. And paddle for on the side bull. but because humans are still better at fearing a face than an endless dark. And somewhere in the oldest part of us, the ocean has never stopped looking back.